In Australia, America, I don't know whether it happened in Europe at all, but certainly modelled on the London ones. It was repeated in, I know, in Australia and America, you know, and I don't think that Seattle would have happened in the same way.
How does it feel? How does it feel to be the mother of a thousand dead? How does it feel to be the mother of a thousand dead? Your language says that is the bodies of life. You're the sixth born, then the tenth was worth the sacrifice. You're not persuading people to accept the one people are. You're thinking right legs too, and the death should have paid. You started a process that was you're so bad and vain. Your ignorance stops you from realize the pain that you're inflicting. You can turn it to creating your own.
We released a record called How Does It Feel to Be the Mother of a Thousand Dead? And writing for one of the daily newspapers here was a guy who did the music bit in it, or the pop bit, fucking prick. And his brother was a Conservative politician in Enfield. So he says to his brother, look, what this band called Crass have done, they've written about how does it feel to be the mother, so the politician gets the arsehole, says how outrageous the record is and it's disgusting. Then we found, of course, then there was a circular, a memo passed around the House of Parliament in the Tory party saying on no account must any member of the Conservative Party have anything whatsoever to do with a band known as the name of Crass. The opposition Labour government heard about it. We then started receiving letters of support from the Labour MPs, and then a Labour MP actually mentioned it in the House of Commons at Prime Minister's question time. Has the Prime Minister listened to the latest record? How does it feel to be the mother of a thousand dead?
Thatcher needed something to boost her public faith. She was failing miserably on her agenda, on her internal agenda, and needed something to boost her popularity. I mean, it was very jingoistic, and she did do. How the fucking hell did Bush manage to gain credibility through going into Iraq? Well, he has done, despite the fact that and how has Blair remained in power after supporting the invasion of Iraq? But they do because people are essentially jingoistic. Look at a football match. You'll see one tonight and see how jingoistic. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's guns or footballs, When the men are out, they're out, aren't they? It's very difficult, for a country in a state of war to actually dare to say, I object, because, we were accused of being traitors, both in the national media and by people down in pubs and that sort of shit. We put together a conversation between Thatcher and Reagan, which was edited out of actual speeches. And the basis of the conversation was basically Reagan questioning Thatcher about the sinking of the Belgrano. We had classified information from the Falklands. We knew a sailor who used to be a skinhead, and he was heading out to the Falklands. And then he contacted us somehow or other as he was returning and just spewed out all this information about the sinking of the Belgrano and the sinking of the Sheffield. The sinking of the Sheffield was something that still hasn't really come to light. I think it was 4 ships. It was one of the big flagships that actually Prince Andrew or Prince Edward, but one of the royal sons was on board. So obviously they had to ensure that that wasn't going to get whacked. The naval response was to order that 3 of the 4 ships should send up flak, which is silver foil, which diverts missiles. Yeah. And the other one wasn't informed, the Sheffield. So it guaranteed that when the missiles arrived, they would go for the one which wasn't protected by a foil shield, which it did. So the Sheffield was sunk. And the men knew that, you know, and there was almost a mutiny, which is why the boats took so long coming back, because they had to sort that out. Pete took the tapes out to mainland Europe, sent it to all the major newspapers in mainland Europe, and then that night we heard nothing. And then the next thing we heard was a report in some American, I think it was a San Francisco paper, about KGB tapes, Pentagon exposing KGB tapes, and we recognised them as being our tape. You know, and then it became a really big story in the American press about, you know, KGB, these are the methods used, you know, to what will lead to the Third World War. And anyway, this guy rang up, this reporter, and said, do you know anything about these tapes? And I picked up the phone and I said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, well, I think you do, and I want to come out and talk to you about it. So I said, well, look, if we were to admit it, would you be prepared to print all the information that's given on the tapes about the Sheffield and the Belgrano? And he said, yes, I could do that. And they did do it, you know, so we managed to get, you know, this sort of really, you know, top secret classified information about the Belgrano and the Sheffield into the national, you know, the good quality press. It had no effect at all whatsoever, except this sort of huge interest in us all of a sudden. And, you know, and at that point the KGB actually did get in touch with us, under the guise of being a literary magazine, and invited us up to their offices in West London, you know, which was obviously a complete sham. And it quite obviously was KGB, and basically they were seeing whether we were worth recruiting. And from that point on it just became fucking stupid, because we were no longer commentators and activists, you know, we'd become sort of experts or something or other. Well, certainly we became desirables to the secret services and that sort of rubbish. And it started feeling really dangerous, to be honest.
Pacify, classify, keep in line, you're doing fine. Lost your voice? There ain't no choice. Play the game, silent and tight, with a passive observer. Sit back and look at the world they destroy and the peace that they took. Ask no questions, hear no lies, and you'll be living in the comfort of a false paradise. I've got a massive surface of X for you. You're already dead, you're already dead. The rights don't want to know you're dead. You're already dead, you're already dead. The road to the edge of this justice to have friends to make the connection. Stumble in the system, then your section. You're already dead, you're already dead.
There are flames anyway, so it's looking better.
Why do you think Crass was successful at the time?
Because we meant what we were saying, you know, we lived that truth. You know, we lived what we were talking about, and it was self-evident that we did. You know, people could come here, and they were welcome to come here, as they always have been, and they could see that we were living, you know, we didn't make anything. Well, I mean, we had lots of money at some lots of the time, but that all went into other projects.
Yeah, that makes me laugh.
I see people do that. Like, yeah. Think, oh, well,
The fact that Crass earned money made no difference at all to this place. We still had no money, and we still have no money, because any money we do have just goes straight into some sort of creative or social project. We financed an anarchist centre in London. That's the most obvious thing we did, but and probably one of the most costly things we did. But we never, every gig that we did, any money that we made went to some local organisation, you know, Rape Crisis Centre, or maybe some kid wanted to make a fanzine, or some band needed a speaker, or the youth club needed a table or a ping pong table or something. But we never ever, we took what we needed, which was enough to pay the petrol, have some food. We never stayed in hotels or anything like that. We just asked people where they got somewhere we could stay. And we always used to come back devastatingly broke, although a lot of money had been made.
Jimmy Percy from Sham 69 was working with Polydor, and it was a thing he was going to do called Percy's Package. So we had already decided, fuck you, we're doing all right on our own, yeah, Crass Records, we're doing fine, thanks. Let's go and see what they've got to offer. So we go in there, and of course it's the guy shows us in his, and there's the guy behind his desk with a big bowl of flowers and all the drinks, da-da-da. I'm like, yeah, don't worry. And this drink arrives from this guy. I'm like, ooh. And he goes, now, I can market your revolution. I can get you into property. You'll have so much money. And I was like, oh, sounds fantastic. Nah, fuck it.
So what did you say to him?
Thanks, but no thanks. We were polite. So, yeah, just weren't interested. How could you do it? How could we do it? And to this day, do you know what I mean? I still can't do things where I feel like I might be not selling out, but where my conscience pricks me, and it's a pretty good thing to have, because it means, well, hopefully I'll never sell out if that still is relevant.
Yes, that's right. Hard case, that is just another tape for that for the countrymen say. Bubblegum rock and plastic chases. Your boss edition, but my bits on the motors. 3 years, promote the clash. I'm a revolutionist, just some cash. I become a fashion like hippie used to be. I can't be a doing rock me. Limits are seduce, systems kill. Limits are express the public will. I become a mimic of your fell lost. Leave it sold out, now you're gonna come. Punk dance is a monostation like pop. Steve Jones started doing real work. It's revolution and a kill Jake. Stuck from the system and give me a snide. Well, I'm tired of staring through sheets like glass. Staring at my superstar now. I'm gonna
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oi,
Ignorant and G.
yeah.
God. Romantic, even.
Oh, the master's still up.
Mm.
That's Joy,
Bron,
Run.
me, and Nima.
That doesn't seem so long ago, that. Strange, isn't it? Doesn't look like you at all.
It doesn't, does it?
No. Really weird.
How did Crass end?
I think there was a schism developing